Episode 4 opens with James still reeling from the intense gala moment at the end of Episode 3, where he poured his heart out to Ruby on stage. That speech wasn't just a public declaration, it was a turning point for him, a visible sign of how much he's changed since losing his mother and the chaos that followed. The audience immediately senses the weight on his shoulders as he walks away from the crowd, forced to leave by Mortimer's cold interference. The tension between James and his father is palpable. A mix of fear, frustration, and determination. Mortimer, as always, is the embodiment of control, and the audience can't help but feel the emotional tug-of-war James experiences every time he tries to assert his independence. While James steps into his office, alone with his thoughts, we see him reflect on everything he's done wrong and what he still needs to do to prove he's worthy of Ruby's forgiveness. It's not just about winning her back. It's about proving to himself that he can be the man he's meant to be, balancing his responsibilities, relationships, and personal growth all at once. Meanwhile, Ruby is grappling with her own emotions. The brief, tearful exchange at the gala lingered in her mind, leaving her conflicted. She wants to believe James has changed, but the fear of being hurt again looms over every decision she makes. The show cleverly highlights her inner struggle with subtle glances, moments of hesitation, and quiet conversations with friends, showing that forgiveness isn't a simple yes or no choice. The writers create a sense of suspense here, allowing the audience to feel Ruby's hesitation and the stakes of the upcoming confrontation. Ruby's internal dialogue reflects a realistic mix of hope and caution. She remembers the pain he caused, yet she can't deny the sincerity she saw in his speech. This duality keeps viewers engaged, constantly questioning whether Ruby will finally let go of the past. At the same time, James begins quietly mending relationships he neglected while chasing redemption with Ruby. He checks in on his teammates, offering support and showing that his personal growth extends beyond romantic love. He also takes time to reassure Lydia, understanding her fear and vulnerability now that she's pregnant. This dual focus on love, friendship, and family creates a rich narrative tapestry, showing that James's journey isn't linear or simple. Every choice he makes carries emotional weight, and viewers can't help but feel the suspense of whether he'll manage to balance it all. Each small act of kindness or responsibility adds layers to his character, making his eventual confrontation with Ruby even more impactful. The tension escalates when Mortimer confronts James later in the episode, laying out an impossible ultimatum. Either fully commit to the family business, where danger and manipulation lurk at every turn, or pursue his relationship with Ruby, risking professional and personal fallout. This moment is electric, filled with high stakes and emotional gravity. Mortimer's power over James has always been a source of drama, but now it intersects directly with James's chance at love and redemption. The scene forces James, and the audience, to question priorities, loyalty, and courage. It's a brilliantly written segment that keeps viewers holding their breath, wondering if James can finally break free from the toxic influence of his father while staying true to himself and those he loves. Meanwhile, Ruby and James's story threads start converging in ways that are both subtle and heart-pounding. Small gestures, lingering looks, and unspoken words build the tension to a breaking point. Ruby notices the changes in James, not only through his words, but through his actions, how he listens, how he respects boundaries, and how he's willing to face difficult conversations rather than avoiding them. The episode emphasizes that forgiveness is earned, not demanded, and viewers feel every heartbeat of that slow, suspenseful journey. There's an undeniable electricity in the air whenever they share a scene, and the suspense is heightened by moments when they're interrupted, leaving both characters and the audience on edge. By the end of Section 1, viewers are already emotionally invested, desperate to see if James's vulnerability and honesty will finally break through Ruby's walls. As Episode 4 progresses, the tension between James and Ruby continues to simmer, but this time it's not just about misunderstandings or past mistakes, it's about trust being rebuilt piece by piece. We see James taking concrete steps to prove his sincerity, showing that his words weren't empty at the gala, but backed by consistent action. Every choice he makes, from checking on Lydia to quietly supporting his friends, adds weight to his character growth, making the audience root for him even harder. Ruby, on the other hand, is struggling with conflicting emotions. She wants to believe in the man James has become, yet old wounds make her hesitant. The episode does a masterful job of showing her internal battle. with subtle gestures, fleeting glances, and moments of silence that speak louder than words. You can feel her heart on screen. Every step she takes toward forgiveness is measured, cautious, and incredibly relatable for anyone who's ever been hurt but still hopes for redemption. One of the most compelling aspects of this episode is how it balances suspense with emotional depth. James and Ruby are constantly on the brink of connection, only to be interrupted by circumstances beyond their control. Mortimer's looming presence adds a layer of tension that never lets the audience fully relax. The father's manipulations aren't just obstacles, they're constant reminders of the stakes involved. Every decision James makes, every risk he takes to be with Ruby, feels monumental because Mortimer is ready to strike at any moment. This dynamic makes the episode feel alive, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats as they anticipate the next emotional blow. It's a delicate dance between hope and fear, love and obligation, and the writers execute it flawlessly. Meanwhile, Lydia's storyline adds an equally gripping layer of suspense. Her pregnancy introduces new stakes, forcing James to confront responsibilities he previously avoided. There's a weight in every scene she appears in because the audience knows that James's choices affect her future as well. He can't simply focus on winning Ruby back. He also has to protect his sister and prepare for the challenges Lydia will face as a soon-to-be mother. This dual responsibility adds tension, making his journey toward Ruby's forgiveness even more complex. The episode shows that growth isn't just about romantic love. It's about embracing accountability and facing the consequences of one's actions, and James is learning that lesson under immense pressure. Episode 4 also heightens suspense through quiet, intimate moments between James and Ruby. There's a scene where they finally find themselves alone, and the air is thick with unspoken emotions. Every word James says is deliberate, every pause loaded with meaning. Ruby's reactions are subtle but telling. Her eyes betray hope, hesitation, and lingering pain all at once. The script cleverly builds tension here by not rushing the confrontation, allowing viewers to feel every heartbeat of the moment. You can almost hear the internal dialogue. Will she forgive him? Can he finally prove that he's changed? These scenes are carefully crafted to make the audience feel like they're right there in the room, experiencing every tremor of emotion alongside the characters. As the episode moves toward its climax, the stakes continue to escalate. Mortimer's manipulations become more aggressive, testing James's resolve and forcing him to make hard choices. Ruby's patience is tested as well, as she wrestles with her desire to believe in him and the fear of being hurt again. The interplay of power, love, and vulnerability creates a thrilling push and pull that keeps viewers emotionally invested from start to finish. By the end of this section, it's clear that forgiveness isn't instantaneous. It's earned through consistent effort, emotional honesty, and a willingness to face painful truths. James is walking a fine line, and the audience is left holding their breath, desperate to see whether he can finally reach Ruby's heart without losing himself or those he loves along the way. As episode 4 deepens, the emotional tension reaches new heights, particularly in the moments between James and Ruby. This isn't just about apologies or confessions anymore. It's about real, tangible change that Ruby can see and feel. James's actions are no longer sporadic gestures. They're consistent, deliberate attempts to rebuild trust. The audience can feel the weight of every decision he makes, knowing that one misstep could undo all the progress he's fought so hard to achieve. There's a palpable sense of suspense here because forgiveness isn't guaranteed. Ruby's heart is cautious, shaped by the pain James's past mistakes caused. She doesn't rush into reconciliation, and that hesitation adds layers of realism to the storyline. It makes every scene between them charged with anticipation, every glance and word carrying the possibility of a breakthrough or a setback. One of the most gripping moments of this section comes when James decides to take a bold step, confronting not just his own guilt, but the shadow of Mortimer's control. The confrontation is tense, filled with a mixture of fear, determination, and lingering resentment. Mortimer, as always, embodies manipulation and pressure, making it clear that James can't simply follow his heart without consequences.
This is where the suspense escalates dramatically. The audience feels the stakes climbing higher and higher. James must choose between standing up to his father and protecting those he loves, or succumbing to fear and losing the chance to earn Ruby's forgiveness. Every line of dialogue crackles with tension, every pause heavy with unspoken emotions. The writing cleverly ensures that viewers are on edge, fully invested in the outcome of this confrontation. Meanwhile, Ruby's internal journey becomes just as central to the narrative. The episode does an excellent job of showing her thought process and emotional struggle. She oscillates between hope and skepticism, weighing James's recent actions against the pain of the past. The suspense here is masterfully built because the audience sees her torn between two realities: the man she hopes James has become and the fear that he might still disappoint her. Subtle cues, a hesitation in her voice, a lingering look, a brief smile quickly suppressed, reveal the depth of her internal conflict. It's in these quiet, understated moments that the writers amplify tension, making the eventual moments of reconciliation feel earned rather than forced. Lydia's storyline also weaves into the suspenseful fabric of episode 4, increasing the stakes for James. Her pregnancy and the secrets surrounding it serve as a reminder that James's choices affect more than just his romantic life. The episode carefully highlights his protective instincts and growing sense of responsibility. He isn't just fighting for Ruby, he's fighting to ensure Lydia and her unborn children are safe from Mortimer's toxic influence. This adds another layer of tension as viewers wonder if James can navigate these intertwined responsibilities without faltering. Every step he takes toward Ruby is mirrored by efforts to shield Lydia from harm, creating a delicate balancing act that keeps the audience on edge. By the midpoint of the episode, the suspense peaks as James and Ruby finally share a moment of uninterrupted honesty. The dialogue is raw, unpolished, and utterly gripping. James lays bare his fears, regrets, and hopes, showing Ruby and the audience that he's not the same person who failed her before. Ruby's responses are equally layered, reflecting vulnerability, pain, and the glimmer of hope that she's been yearning for. The tension is almost unbearable, as viewers are left wondering whether this long-awaited honesty will be enough to bridge the gap between them. It's a pivotal section of the episode that perfectly balances emotional depth with suspense, making it impossible to look away. Episode 4 builds toward its emotional climax as James and Ruby's connection reaches a breaking point, and every moment feels electrifying. James has finally removed the walls around his emotions, showing Ruby that his previous mistakes were not the end of the story, but the beginning of real growth. What makes this episode so gripping is the way the tension is carefully maintained. The audience knows Ruby's forgiveness isn't guaranteed, and that uncertainty keeps hearts racing. Every glance, every word, every pause between them carries monumental weight. James doesn't just apologize. He communicates a deep understanding of the pain he caused and acknowledges the ways he failed to protect her trust. Ruby, on the other hand, struggles to balance her lingering hurt with the hope she feels seeing the man James is becoming. The suspense here is tangible. You can almost feel the collective heartbeat of viewers waiting to see whether love will triumph over past wounds.
Mortimer's shadow looms larger than ever in this section. His manipulations and ultimatums threaten to unravel James's careful steps toward redemption. He presents new challenges, forcing James to make choices that test not just his courage, but his loyalty, integrity, and resilience. One of the most thrilling aspects is watching James navigate this pressure without succumbing to fear. His ability to stand up to Mortimer while protecting both Ruby and Lydia heightens the stakes, making every scene with his father charged with suspense. Viewers are left questioning how far James will go, how much he's willing to sacrifice, and whether he can finally assert control over his own life without losing the people who matter most. The tension is relentless, and it's impossible not to feel the weight of every decision he faces. Meanwhile, Ruby begins to let her guard down in subtle but powerful ways. The episode excels in portraying her journey toward forgiveness as gradual, thoughtful, and deeply emotional. Small gestures, a softening look,
A hesitant step closer, a whispered acknowledgement of change, signal her willingness to consider reconciliation. Yet the fear of being hurt again always lingers, creating a delicate push and pull that makes every interaction with James electric with suspense. The writers masterfully balance hope and doubt, ensuring that the audience is fully invested in the unfolding drama. We see her struggle internally, weighing the sincerity of James's actions against the pain of her past, which makes the eventual moments of forgiveness feel earned and intensely satisfying. Lydia's storyline intensifies the emotional stakes further. Her pregnancy is no longer just a subplot, it directly impacts James's choices and the tension of the episode. Each scene where James considers her safety and well-being adds a layer of urgency and moral complexity. The audience feels the pressure mounting, understanding that James cannot focus solely on Ruby without risking harm to Lydia. This intertwining of personal, familial, and romantic responsibilities creates a rich narrative tension that makes the episode compelling on multiple levels. Every decision James makes is layered with potential consequences, heightening the suspense and keeping viewers emotionally engaged. The climax of Section 4 arrives in the long-awaited confrontation between James and Ruby, where emotions explode in a powerful, unfiltered exchange. James pours out every fear, regret, and hope he's carried since the beginning of the season, speaking with a sincerity that is impossible to ignore. Ruby listens, visibly moved, struggling between skepticism and a desire to believe in the man he has become. The scene is electric with suspense. The audience feels every heartbeat, every pause, every micro-expression as if they were in the room with them. It's a delicate balance between tension and emotional payoff, making this section the emotional fulcrum of the episode. By the end of Section 4, it's clear that the stage is set for a powerful resolution. Either Ruby will forgive James, allowing them to rebuild their relationship, or the lingering obstacles, Mortimer, past betrayals, and unforeseen challenges, will push them apart. The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. Ruby might actually forgive James. After weeks of heartbreak, misunderstandings, and tense confrontations. Episode 4 of Maxton Hall throws us right into the emotional storm that's been building since Season 2 began. James has been on a roller coaster of grief, guilt, and self-discovery, and now everything comes to a head. But forgiveness isn't simple, and the stakes have never been higher. Between Mortimer's manipulations, Lydia's pregnancy, and the pressure of family expectations, James has to navigate a minefield of emotions just to stand a chance with Ruby. Will he finally show her the growth she's been hoping for, or will one wrong move push her away forever? Episode 4 promises heart-wrenching choices, raw confessions, and moments that will leave viewers on the edge of their seats, and we're about to dive deep into every twist, turn, and emotion that made this episode unforgettable.